Oh, the pressure that is the play-in game. Should LeBron James and the Lakers be nervous heading into tonight's big game against Steph and the Warriors? Trey Lance, Justin Fields, they're getting up to speed. They're jamming to 1.5 seconds of music. But will they start come week one?
Good music.
And Kyrie doesn't think these Nets are going to get their credit for at least 10 years, maybe 20, he said. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to a phenomenal show this morning. First things first, Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright. We got LeVar in for Brandon today. We got Kevin Wilds. Mark your calendar, buddy. Nick Wright, 10 to 20 years, you can say Nets. Credit. You ready for that? Credit.
I'm ready. I've marked it down. May 20th, 2041. Credit will be given. I'm excited for it. Can't wait.
So Nick did that. Nick did that off the top of his head. I needed Alexa plus Alexis' sister to figure out exactly when I'll be marking in my calendar. All right, here we go. We got to start this morning. Celtics and Wizards. Winner moving on to face those Nets in round one. The thought to be dead in the water Boston Celtics were anything but that last night. If only somebody could have predicted that. They were going up against a red-hot Wizards team.
You did it, Jenna.
Jayson Tatum, even hotter. A performance for the ages, 50 points out of Tatum, a perfect 17 of 17 from the line out of Tatum, and the win thanks to Jayson Tatum. Here he is after the big win.
I don't really get caught up in, those who think I am a superstar and those that don't. What does that really mean? I know that my teammates, I've earned their respect. I've earned the respect of the guys that I play against and the coaches. And, I believe myself, and that's all that matters.
All right, big win for the Boston Celtics as they now get ready to face the Nets. But let's stay here for a second, talk about Jayson Tatum. Nick, what'd you make of his big 50-point game last night?
Oh, it's a great moment for him, and it's a validating moment for him. Listen, Jayson Tatum burst onto really the national stage, not so much when he was the third pick of the draft, but in the playoffs in 2018 when the undermanned Celtics took LeBron and the Cavs to 7 games. You're like, oh, Tatum could be one of the next stars of the league. And last year in the playoffs, when they got to the conference finals, he was clearly their best player, but he'd never had a moment quite like this one. He had 5 career playoff 30-point games, 0 career playoff games with more than 35 or with at least 35. And while I understand this does not technically count as a playoff game, it was playoff stakes, and he was excellent. So, Wilds, for Tatum, this is a great moment and a career benchmark. For the Celtics and their and most notably their manager, I kind of feel like the next couple weeks would have been better for them if Tatum would have played poorly last night and saved this outburst for tomorrow, so they'd be taking on the Sixers instead of the Nets, because even their head coach, their head coach Brad Stevens came out and was like, hey, can we beat the Nets? Probably not. We're going to have to play perfect, and they're really good. And the history with the Nets and the history with the trade and the history with Kyrie and all of that, we're going to get those stories day after day. So it's great for Tatum. But if I'm, Vinny from Worcester, I don't think I'm very happy over the next couple because of what this great game is going to make me experience.
Yeah, I think the Nets Celtics is going to be a referendum on Danny Ainge's career as a GM, Jenna. I'm sorry. I still think he should follow you on all social platforms, regardless if the Celtics win one game or get swept. Nick, I'm going to throw it back to you. And you were very diplomatic in giving Jayson Tatum a handful of flowers, not the full bouquet. But some would think that he's talking directly to you, since you lead the brigade of Jayson Tatum is not quite a superstar. And it's interesting because Tatum's like, I don't even know what that really means. Like, well, I know what it means. It's kind of just like Hollywood. Can I put your picture on a poster and sell tickets? AKA, can we win this movie with just you as the star? So if you have Tom Cruise, you can put him in anything, and that movie will do a certain amount of numbers. It's similar to the NBA. Can you ride a singular guy and a singular performance to a championship? And I think what Jayson Tatum is saying from a performance like last night is like, yeah, you can. I don't know if you're willing to go there yet, but I feel it would be remiss if we didn't ask you, has Jayson Tatum earned his superstar credits with last night's performance?
See, you box me in and you make me be mean this early in the morning after the guy's career best game.
No.
Listen, I did the list this morning, and even the most adamant, diehard Celtic fans, none of them would consider Tatum better than the following players. Let me give them to you quickly, okay? LeBron, Durant, Embiid, Giannis, Luka. There's 5. Steph, Harden, Dame, Kawhi, Jokic, AD. That's 11. So right there's 11 guys unanimously better than him. I think Kyrie, Chris Paul, and Jimmy Butler are also there. So now we're at 14. Then there's the group of Zion, Paul George, Bradley Beal, Julius Randle, Russ, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, and the big defensive centers, Bam and Rudy Gobert, plus Jayson Tatum. That's 24 guys. So at absolute best, he's 15th. At absolute worst, he's 24th. I think he's probably somewhere around, right. What's going to happen today, LeVar, is the same thing that happens with quarterbacks in the NFL. People are like, hey, that's top 5 quarterback. It's a top 5 quarterback. And it's like, hey, give me your list of top 5 quarterbacks. And they will list 9 people. Everyone's going to want to say Jayson Tatum is a top 10 player, even though there's 11 guys, I would argue 14 guys, that we all think are better than him. So is it a league with 20 superstars? No. So is Jayson Tatum a star, LeVar? Yes. Is he a superstar? Not yet. And I think when you go through the actual names, I think everyone knows that.
I'm going to go at your, and I believe that the reasoning is sound, Nick. I really do. But when I think about superstar, I don't think about all pro. I think about, do people know who you are? If Jayson Tatum was to go out in downtown Boston, would people know who he is? Would people want to get pictures with him? Would people want to shake his hand and ask him how the season is going? And I love the Celtics. If he went somewhere in America, if he went somewhere else overseas, would people recognize Jayson Tatum? And the answer is unequivocally, yes, they would. So by your standard, you're right. If we're looking at superstars as in best player, as in highest rated player, to me, I look at that as all league, all pro honors. So to me, there are superstars that aren't necessarily considered to be the best. So I look at Jayson Tatum and I look at this performance. I thought it was a signature moment as well, Nick. I also look at it as Jayson Tatum is also going to be measured and weighed differently because he's playing for the Boston Celtics. I don't want to say people like you, Nick, because that sounds horrible. But when someone looks at what Jayson Tatum's body of work is and says, he's a star, but he's not a bona fide superstar, I would tend to say he's had a ton of success in the playoffs. Yeah. He's come very close to being in the finals at a very, very young age. So to me, I measure superstar celebrities as somebody that is recognizable to people that aren't necessarily within that category. People know who Jayson Tatum is, and to me, that says he is a superstar.
And that's a totally fair way to do it. I might be doing it in a little more nerdy, analytical fashion. But to kind of put a pin on this, Wilds, to what you said about, let's say Nick's a hater, Nick's wrong, Jayson Tatum is a superstar. We also know Jaylen Brown is an all-star. Now, I know they didn't have Jaylen last week of the season, didn't have him last night. But the reason this is such a tough spot for Ainge is because the Celtics are now the 7 seed with a superstar, allegedly, and an all-star. You look at the 3 teams ahead of them. You look at Atlanta. Atlanta they have Trae Young as their best guy. They don't have a superstar, and they don't have any other all-stars. You look at the Knicks. Julius Randle is their best guy. He is trying to become a superstar. They have no other all-stars. You look at Miami. I think Jimmy Butler's, right on line with Tatum, as I mentioned, and then they have Bam. But why were those teams all 40-plus wins? And why were the Celtics with Tatum and Brown for the majority of the season, why did they finish at 500? Because of the rest of the roster has been put together terribly. So in an odd way, you know who wants to argue that Nick's right about Tatum is Danny Ainge. Because if he is a superstar, then why the hell were you guys 500 in the play-in game? Like, that's a fair question.
Ugh, it's so annoying when he makes a good point, isn't it? By the way, Celtics-Nets. That series gets underway Saturday night. I know where I'll be. We're back previewing tonight's playing game. Should LeBron and the Lakers be fearing big-time performance from one Steph Curry? We'll discuss that next. This is First Things First. Play a little drawing to blank. Warriors-Lakers playing game. Kyle Kuzma saying yesterday, quote, "We have appropriate fear for Steph and the Warriors tonight." So, LeVar, the Lakers' level of fear versus the Warriors tonight should be blank.
None. Nada. Zipola. Should I keep going? Listen, I was thinking about this, and I was like, wow, you know what? In the bubble last year, when there was so much adversity to overcome, what did the Lakers draw from? What gave them inspiration and motivation? Kobe, right? Now think about this year. Now think about this. I was doing my homework. Shouts out to my man Jim. We were working on this, and I was like, man, you know what? We were just talking about Jayson Tatum and the Celtics. Do you realize that the Celtics and the Lakers are tied for 17 NBA Finals championships? What would be the motivation? Right. You know what? LeBron is always going after those milestone deals. What would be better as a LA Laker, as LeBron James, to win for Kobe the year before and to push the Lakers ahead of the Boston Celtics as the most winningest franchise of NBA championships? They're motivated, and that's inspiration. So I don't think they have any type of fear right now.
I think that's a great answer, LeVar. And fun fact, Wilds, while the Celtics and Lakers are tied for most championships in NBA history, as far as championships since the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Celtics are tied with the Raptors and the Mavs, one apiece. So, they won a lot of those championships back when there were 6 teams and, the games were shot on steady cam like this. But that's all right. Shout out to Bill Russell, 4th greatest player of all time. Okay, now to the answer. The answer here, Wilds, is a haunted house. Because haunted houses look scary from the outside. And from the outside, this looks like a scary game for the Lakers. But once you get in there, you're like, wait, none of these people can touch me. They're all, werewolves aren't real. All I really am worried about is twisting my ankle while I'm in here. Which, what are the Lakers a little worried about? Just don't twist your ankle again, LeBron. That's it. And then you leave, and you're like, that wasn't even that scary. So, haunted house from start to finish, including the twisted ankle part of it. That is a galaxy brain take I came up with on the airplane yesterday. I hope it made sense, America.
Great take.
They can blow air on you, though, Nick. I don't like that.
It's a great take, and I'm going to do the rare thing on TV. I will talk to the producers rather than talking to the audience. Can we please pull the Anthony Davis in a haunted house video from a few years ago? Stay tuned for that, America. That's coming up. Hey, before you see a scary movie, you know what you see? The scary trailer. And you know who starred in the scary trailer yesterday? Jayson Tatum. Went 17 for 17 from the line at 32 field goal attempts. That's what you're going to see tonight. Incandescent Steph's going to shoot the ball 40 times, get to the line a bunch, strike some fear into the Lakers.
Okay. Excited?
All right. We'll see. Yeah. Hey, we got to shift to Brooklyn. While the Nets are favorites to win the title, Kyrie doesn't think they'll get the credit they deserve for quite some time. Take a listen to this.
We made a decision 2 years ago to stick with it and build something here. No one really saw the vision probably that we had. We probably won't get the credit until 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. That's just the way history goes. But, with the intent here was we didn't want to feel the same effects of being out in organizations or being out with different guys throughout this league that, we felt like we could have built something outside of the game with. It's just important to have that synergy. And, a lot of situations and circumstances that we were in, We were trying to be ourselves, but the environment just didn't stick, just didn't fit. And when we came together, we just wanted to be happy. Happiness goes a long way in life, especially when you're playing this game.
LeVar,
Yeah.
Kyrie's comments are blank.
Premature. My thing about this is, and listen, I bang with Kyrie. I think his philosophies and his perspectives are super, refreshing, breath of fresh air. But here's the thing. Either you're calling your shot by saying that we won't be celebrated for 20 years because you're going to win it all, or you're calling your shot because you believe that what you guys have done so far is enough that in 20 years they'll talk about how you guys came together and won more games in Brooklyn than any other Brooklyn team did. Hey, Nick, I was drafted number 2 overall in the 2000 draft. I don't know how many people watching this show really remember that. You know why? Because maybe prematurely people were like, LeVar Arrington is this great football player. But you know what? 20 years later, nobody remembers that. You know why? Because we never won. I never won anything. I have no Super Bowl rings. My hands are bare. And you know what, Kyrie? You have a championship ring, but it ain't with Brooklyn. And the only way you're calling your shot is if y'all win it all. Nobody cares if you won in the regular season at a more rapid pace, and nobody cares if you made it all the way to the finals and didn't win it. You got to win it all for his statement to be qualified.
First of all, LeVar, you're far too hard on yourself. Second of all, I'm going to take it a step further.
You're a winner in our book.
I think even if if this group together, in order for Kyrie to be right, like we're going to look back on him and be like, oh my God, look what they did.
They had to do it more than
once. They have to win a bunch of championships. Because this idea that KD and Kyrie invented the concept of really good basketball players who are friends coming together. No, they didn't.
Not true.
This is Avatar to LeBron's Fern Gully. Like, wait, I know you guys act like you created this, but no, we've seen this story before. And so, listen, I think Kyrie has had some really interesting quotes about non-basketball stuff. I know I've been hard on him this year for his, going AWOL on the team, but I think Kyrie has put his money where his mouth is and has really shown himself to be a far more mature and I think interesting person off the court than he was early in his career, and I do want to give him credit for that. But this right here, I don't totally understand what he's saying is going to happen here. Like in 20 years, we're going to better respect what? That you and KD decided to come play together? Like that's all of a sudden the last decade been happening a lot in the NBA. So I think it's optimistic. I think he's saying, yeah, if they win 3 of the next 4 titles, then I think people will be like, wow, look at what they created. But we're not quite there yet, Wilds.
Okay, so I think you said something interesting there, is that you didn't quite understand the quote, which I think is fair. I will take the under on them getting the credit that they deserve if we're talking about winning championships, but I don't think that's what he's talking about, because he mentions trying to be happy off the court as well, and how they came together and tried to form something bigger. So it's just I think Kyrie is also super interesting, and I think that the journalists who are like doing these press conferences take a page from the late great Larry King's book, when he just says, hey, can you explain that a little further? Because I think Kyrie has a lot to say, and I think this quote is actually bigger than basketball, but he's not getting the chance to fully expound on what exactly he's talking about.
Is that your brother?
How I feel about your quote right there.
Sound like y'all related.
A little bit more. Yeah, right? Diving into tonight's playing game, can Steph and the Warriors actually pull off the upset against the King and the Lakers? Find out next. First things first. We welcome in Chris Broussard to this riveting conversation about La Tortuga. No, let's talk some basketball. All right, Broussard, here we go. Lakers, Warriors, LeBron, Steph, Einhorn, Finkel. Winner gets the 7th seed and a date with the Suns. LeBron said earlier this week that Steph is the MVP this season. Steph was asked yesterday about the high praise from LeBron. Take a listen to how he's handling it.
Obviously, I'm appreciative of, he knows when he says something, people pay attention. So for him to speak on my MVP candidacy is definitely, I respect him for it. I appreciate it. We all know as competitors, though, when the lights are on, I can talk about how great he is till I'm blue in the face, and he can do the same. Doesn't change how we approach, that competition when we're out there. I won't be giving him a pass because he likes the way I played this year, and vice versa.
All right, the table's been set. Chris Broussard, I'll throw it out there. Who wins this game tonight?
Lakers win this game, Jenna. Look, I understand in a one-game situation that anything can happen, especially when you got a guy like Steph Curry on one side of the ball. He's playing arguably the best that he's ever played in his career, so he's certainly capable of getting hot. He's on a hot streak. But the fact is the Lakers are the far superior team. Far superior. All right, we know they're only playing this game because their two best players have been injured for half of the season. So I expect the Lakers to come out and win. They've got the best player on the floor, with all due respect to Steph, who's the greatest small player, greatest shooter of all time. LeBron James is the best player on the floor, and he will be tonight. They've got the third best player on the floor in Anthony Davis. And then they've got great defense. They are going to defend the Golden State Warriors. Dennis Schroeder will hound Steph. That doesn't mean Steph won't get his. Steph will get his. But Dennis Schroeder will be a pest. He will be that gnat that you got to keep swiping at, because that's what he does a lot of times. And I just think they've got the formula to beat Golden State. So I expect the Lakers to win. Look, Steph has averaged in 3 games against the Lakers just 3 points a game this season. That's the third lowest against any team he's faced more than one time. So the Lakers defend him as well as you can defend a guy like that. And look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is a wildly competitive game. I hope it goes down to the wire. And I wouldn't be mad at all if Steph worked a miracle and beat the Lakers tonight. But my feeling, my expectation is that Lakers win fairly handily.
Wow, fairly handily. Okay. I think there are a number of scenarios, Broussard, that the Lakers should fear, which is why we created America's favorite scary segment. Drum roll, please. Nightmare Fuel. Oh, with the Nightmare Fuel music. It's everyone's favorite. It haunts you while you sleep. What is the Nightmare Fuel for the Lakers? The first one is playoff mode Warriors. Steve Kerr said, guys, we got to start playing. They said, all right, let's get into playoff mode right now. They're 15-5 in their last 20. Oh, scary. Watch out, Lakers. Reason number 2. Who's back from the ghost of basketball past? It's Davidson Steph, who gave him 32 during the tournament. What's he averaging now? 32. David. And you know what? Usage rate through the roof. And you know when we talk about vintage hip-hop, what do we talk about? Like classic backpack rap? You know what I'm talking about. Backpack three-pointers. Vintage Draymond. Nightmare for the Lakers. He's shooting 44% from 3 in the last couple of games. What is going on there? And finally, this is not too scary, but it gives me another chance to talk about music. This one's, oh, Canada. There's 2 Canadians you need to worry about. Aubrey and Andrew. Andrew had 38 points the other day against the Suns because they tried to shut Steph down. And Aubrey, Aubrey, you never know if he's a Warriors fan or not because he obviously likes the Raptors, although he does have a few Warriors tattoos on him. He's out there drinking Los Lobos. Oh boy. This is never good. It's never good. Lamar, I'm all for relaxing, but Aubrey has always got something up his sleeve. And I know this also doubles as a tequila commercial for LeBron, so he's still winning here, even the idea that we have to talk about it. Savvy move, but I would be very, very worried. In fact, I'd be terrified if I was the Lakers with their ghost of Davidson Steph carrying them to a victory tonight.
Wilds didn't say it. Those pictures are from last night. So that's the relevance to it, is that LeBron was drinking with Drake last night. Go ahead, LeVar.
The problem here, Nick, with Wilds is his whole horror story and haunted house is that this is like a spoof. This is like the Wayans brothers doing Scary Movie. Like, this isn't the real one. This isn't the real Freddie. This isn't the real Jayson. We're talking about comedy here. Why? Because it's a horrible matchup for the Golden State Warriors. I will say this. Jenna called money on the Celtics. I said that this was a horrible matchup for the Celtics versus the Wizards. I was wrong. The only problem here is that when I look at the main characters that are in this horror flick of a game tonight, the worst villains are on the Lakers side. And that's just the bottom line of it. If we're speaking in Nightmare and in Elm Street terms, or any of those type of deals, the ghost of Sleepy Hollow. It's not even Halloween, but I'll tell you what, it will be a freak show tonight. And all 5 of those Lakers being back on the court, I think that's going to be too much for Golden State.
That's right. Listen, and Broussard brought up Steph's struggles against the Lakers this year. How about Steph against the Lakers since LeBron joined the team? Show his numbers. I think these will shock people. What team has Steph played the worst against? That's 7 games Steph has played against the Lakers. He's averaging at least 20 against every other team in the league. It's his worst 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, and points per game against everybody. LeBron has played in most, but not all of those games, it should be noted, because 2 years ago, obviously, he got hurt during their Christmas Day game. So it's not just a LeBron thing. This year, Dennis Schroeder, to Broussard's point, has defended him incredibly well. And that doesn't even bring in the Lakers' biggest advantage, the overwhelming size. The Lakers can play AD and Drummond at the same time and get every rebound. Or they can play their best lineup, which is AD at center, and that totally neutralizes what the Warriors want to do with Draymond. So you're it's kind of, left you lose, right I win. There's no good counter here for the Warriors. So I want to ask Broussard a question I brought up at the end of yesterday's show. And people think I'm being a hater with the Warriors on this. I am not. Everybody loves the play-in as long as the Lakers and Warriors both make the playoffs. Tonight's game's going to be awesome, but if we end up with San Antonio as the 8 seed instead of the Warriors as the 8 seed, that's a huge bummer for basketball fans in the league. So I do want the Warriors to advance to go on to play Utah. So here's my question, Broussard. How tight of a leash should Steve Kerr have if this game looks like it could be getting out of hand when the Warriors have been going full throttle for 3 weeks just to get in this spot? And if they lose, they have to play again on Friday with their season on the line, potentially against Memphis, a Memphis team that took them to the wire just a few days ago. Like, if you're Steve Kerr, I don't think you can quite treat this like a Game 7, because it's not a Game 7, and you might have an actual Game 7 against an inferior opponent, and you need to leave something in the tank. Do you think that is going into the Warriors coaching staff mind at all? Or are they like, you know what? If we got to play Steph 44 minutes, we'll do it? Because I don't think that would be the right approach.
Look, if it's a close game and they've got a chance to win, then play Steph 40 minutes, 40 plus if that's what's necessary. Same with Draymond. But if it's out of hand in the third quarter, and it's clearly evident you're going to lose late in the third, then yeah, you probably start your big guns in the fourth, and then if you can't make a run, then you just rest them, and maybe those guys play 30 or fewer minutes. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't think the Warriors feel like they can't win. I don't think they're as pessimistic as you and I are about their chances. And we saw the first game of the season between these two teams. Steph came out and did get hot in the fourth quarter, had a great run, and we know they upset the Lakers. Granted, regular season game, but again, in a one-game scenario, anything can happen. So I just think they have to watch how this goes, and if it's evident you got no chance of winning, rest your guys.
All right, well, tonight's game is featured on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. You can download the app, answer 6 questions for your shot to win a $1,000 guaranteed prize. Warriors, Lakers, much more on this coming up. But we got to talk some Boston Celtics now. And what a night it was for one Jayson Tatum. Time to consider him a bona fide superstar. Talk about that next on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, we are joined by Chris Broussard once again. So, Broussard, we talked earlier this week about the interesting end to the Clippers season. Maybe they attempted and succeeded in avoiding the Lakers in round 1. They sat most of their regulars, including Kawhi and PG. I'm not saying they did. I'm also not saying they didn't. But Ty Lue was asked about this yesterday, and he said, quote, "I don't give a damn what anybody else thinks on the outside. We decided to go health over anything else. We finally got our team healthy, and that is what we focused on. Whatever people say on the outside, I don't care. I don't read Twitter, have Twitter, and Insta-Twit, all that. I don't care about all that. I am my own man, and I do what I want to do. That's how I live my life." I'm just going to let you guys know I looked up Insta-Twit because I didn't know what that was. Now I know why. Chris Broussard, what do you make of Ty Lue's comments? I was like, Insta-Twit? I don't know.
First of all, I absolutely love Ty Lue's comments, especially the Insta-Twit, but that's what he should say, all right? That's what he should say to defend himself. That's what he should say to defend his players. That's what he should say to get his players in the right mindset going into this postseason. Mm-hmm. But I do believe they avoided the Lakers. A lot of people around the league feel that way. I've been told that by someone who would know that they did want to avoid the Lakers early in the playoffs. And I don't like that mentality. Look, if you're the LA Clippers, it's one thing if you're an 8th seed with no chance to win the championship, and you really don't have a chance. You're just happy to get there, or you're hoping to make a decent run, and that's a building block for your franchise. The Clippers are in championship or bust mode, at least Western Conference championship or bust mode. They need to get to the finals. All right, you got 2 of the best swingmen in the league, 2 bona fide stars, a superstar in Kawhi Leonard. You've got great depth. You've got playoff Rondo, and you've got the memory of last year's meltdown to drive you. And you are avoiding someone, you need to be entering the playoffs thinking we will take on all comers. LeBron, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, Chris Paul, and bring on Brooklyn. That needs to be the mentality, not we don't want to see the Lakers in the first round. To be honest, you'd rather see them in the first round, in my view. I get it. If you lose, it's bad to go out that early. But I think the best time to catch the Lakers is the first round rather than the conference finals. Because if the Lakers get to the conference finals, that means LeBron and AD are clicking. That means they're about as close to 100% as they're ever going to get this year. And they will be rolling, and they'll be a much tougher matchup than they would be in the first round. So I like Ty Lue, and he did the right thing by what he said. But I just don't think they handled this properly.
There goes that superhero, Mr. Qualifier, Chris Broussard, the great one. Hey, listen here. I understand what you're saying, Chris, but that's exactly why Ty Lue did what he did. Keep in mind, Ty Lue was a champion as a player and as a coach. Not many people can say that and boast those types of accomplishments. He's seen what the media can do to a team as a player, and he's seen what a media can do to a team as a coach. So what he did right now, he just put the force fields up against people like you, Chris Broussard. It's up. And then all those things. Why did you duck the Lakers? You avoided the Lakers. It's out there. It's bouncing off of them. Because here's the thing. You may very well be 100% correct in what you're saying and in your assessment. But as long as those players in that locker room for the LA Clippers don't subscribe, buy into, believe, agree, create doubt based upon things that experts that are respected like yourself may be saying about avoiding this Lakers team, The one thing I know about this Lakers team, when you look at their talent pool, as long as they're focused on what it is they need to do and there's no confusion, no distractions, and mentally they're dialed in and emotionally they're into it, this is one of those teams that may mess around and win the entire deal. It's all of those other things. What did we hear about Paul last year in the bubble? It was mental health. He was breaking down mentally and emotionally in the bubble last year. And ultimately, I think that that's what costed this Clippers team the ability to compete at a level that we've been expecting them to compete at. So for Tyronn Lue to set off, like to light the fuse right now and come out and definitively say, put that on me. You want to we duck the Lakers? Put that target on me. You want to say we can't beat the Lakers? Put that target on me. Y'all just focus and go out there and play ball. And as a former player and now as a coach, those are the best coaches to have, Nick, because in the end, if I believe in you and you believe in me and we believe in unstoppable force we become. So sure. I like what Tyronn Lue did, Nick.
Wow.
Well, I like what he said. I adore Ty. I think he's an excellent coach.
Oh, you're qualified.
I think he gets no credit for what they accomplished in Cleveland. And if you talk to people who were on that team, they talk about how important he was, not only in their championship year, but in the 2018 season after the Kyrie trade. And I think he's done a great job with the Clippers. But wild. But let's just pretend for a moment that I'm presenting a case to a jury of my peers. And the case is the Clippers not just rested their stars, but intentionally lost the final 2 games of the year for whatever reason. To me, there's only one logical reason: to be the 4 seed, avoid the Lakers. I would only need to present 3 pieces of evidence. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I will not take up much of your time. There are just 3 things you need to know. The first thing you need to know is Yogi Ferrell. In his Clippers career, he had played 40 minutes. He had taken 14 shots. In the final 2 games of the season, he played 56 minutes and took 22 shots. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, piece of evidence number 2, a man named Jay Scrubb. He had played 8 minutes in his NBA life, taking 3 shots. In the final 2 games of the season, Jay Scrubb played 76 minutes and took 33 shots. And I will leave you with this. The man, Daniel Oturu. You might say, who is that? Isn't that very expensive sushi? Well, it is, but it's also a man who plays for the Clippers. He had never taken more than 4 shots in an NBA game. In the final game of the year, he was 5 for 21. And in the 4th quarter, the Clippers repeatedly called isolation plays for him, and he went 2 of 10 from the field in the 4th quarter. That's it. I rest my case. You won't need long to deliberate. We watched the games, Wilds. We saw not only who wasn't playing, but who was playing and the plays that were being run. Now, I think it's a mistake by them for a number of reasons. I think what Broussard said about getting the Lakers early is correct. I also think that if they had just beaten Oklahoma City, they'd have gotten Portland. They haven't lost to the Blazers in 2 years. I think Portland is a far better matchup for them than the Mavs are. So I think it's the wrong strategy, and I think it sends the wrong message. I also think it's wild. It's undeniable that that's what happened.
Bruce, I think you make an excellent point, Nick. And Broussard, do you think it would be a dereliction of duty on Ty Lue's behalf, on the entire Clippers organization, if they went out and won those games and then ended up playing the Lakers and getting booted? Like, Ty Lue's trying to win a championship, and he probably has a directive from Steve Ballmer, like, we need to win. We didn't win last year, and I cleaned house. So do you think if they played everybody, if they tried to beat the Rockets and beat the Thunder and ended up facing the Lakers and it didn't go well, do you think Steve Ballmer would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, it's not a mental, like, we're trying to win a championship. So do you think it would have been a dereliction of duty if he played everybody and tried to win?
Not at all. I think it would have sent a message to your players. And again, LeVar's right. I hope the players buy into what Ty Lue said and that they don't think they tank. They think they can beat the Lakers. But it would have been a message to your players that we can beat the Lakers and we'll take them on right this very moment. So, and look, everyone understands if they lose to the Lakers in the first round, yeah, you went out early in the first round, but you lost to the defending champions who very well get to the finals or win it again this year. There's no shame in that. So I just think you have to look at the full context rather than, oh, they lost in the first round. Look at who they lost to. Maybe it's a great 7-game series and they go down in the first round. People could respect that more so than avoiding the Lakers, and then maybe you lose to someone else in the second or conference finals.
Right. All right, but a great case, Nick. I love that. I found that incredibly entertaining. We're back previewing the play-in games tonight.
Law and Order
Lakers
days,
Warriors
didn't
next.
it, Jenna?
First things first. All three of my Law and Order days. We've got Coach Eric Mangini joining us now. Coach, let's talk football, please. We're going to play a little before or after start in Chicago. Bears drafting Justin Fields 11th overall. We all remember that. But head coach Matt Nagy saying yesterday Andy Dalton is the starter. Andy Dalton is still the QB1. Take a listen to this.
Andy is the starter. Andy's going to get the 1 reps. And what we're telling Justin and Nick to do is make sure that they're doing everything they can to try to be that guy.
All right, well, the Bears got the Super Bowl champs on the schedule week 7. So, LeVar, will Justin Fields' first start be before or after week 7?
Well, since we're basing this off of betting, if you're a bettor, you better take the under on this one. Justin Fields is primed to have a studly, yes, I said it, bold prediction, a studly rookie season. It will be well before week 7. Nothing more else from me. I don't even need to add any more. Coach, you got it.
Yeah, look, I 100% agree with you in the sense that he's gonna start before week 7. I'm not sure how he's going to perform. I don't even know if it matters how well he performs early on. They're going to look for every possible reason to start him, to play him, to get him in, because they're under a significant amount of pressure. And when they signed Andy Dalton, they signed him because he was the best available at the time. Then they fell into Justin Fields during the draft, and now they're gonna make sure that they push him to start as quickly as they can. There's no doubt in my mind that he plays early.
Well, and they didn't just fall into Justin Fields to build on Coach's point. They targeted him. They moved up. They got Dave Gettleman to trade back, which is something he had never wanted to do. It's why they traded a future first-round pick, which could be super valuable, to get Justin Fields. So I agree before. If we can show the schedule again, I think the odds are Justin Fields starts week 1. But the latest he would start is week 4. If they're looking at the first few weeks and like, man, the Rams have a great D-line, the Browns have a great D-line, but then once you get the Lions and the Raiders and the Packers, some softer defenses, the absolute latest he would start is week 4. A little bit of a bad beat for Justin if in his first career start, he has some kneecaps eaten by the fighting Dan Campbells in Detroit, but he'll be all right. He'll be able to handle it. But it definitely before week 7.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the off-the-board pick and say I like him starting week 7 against the Bucs. And I know you might say, like, uh-oh, the same Bucs defense that tortured poor Patrick Mahomes. Remember that, Nick? Oh, my gosh, he's getting slammed on the ground, running around. Ndamukong Suh punches him in the helmet, no penalty. What's going on here? But I like week 7 for this reason. One, I think Justin Fields went from being the number 2 quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence to kind of having a little crisis of confidence now that he fell. So I think starting him against Tom Brady would be a big confidence boost. Same as we saw Taylor Heineke play well against the Bucs. And when did we see Justin Herbert? We saw him on accident after a horrible mishap play against the Chiefs. And he played okay. They lost the game, but it gave him the confidence and propelled him to a great year. So I think starting against the Bucs, if you win, you win. And if you lose and play okay, you still win.
Yeah, I just don't think it's about the schedule. I don't think that's the factor here. I think that they want him in. They want him in as quickly as possible. During the preseason, they're going to find every reason to promote him. There's just too much pressure on the head coach. There's too much pressure on the organization to play him. So if he makes a few exciting plays, they're pushing him forward. And look, those defensive lines are good and can cause problems, but this is also a guy that can help alleviate some of that pressure because he can make plays with his feet.
All right, let's head out west to San Francisco, where Trey Lance is learning the ins and outs of Kyle Shanahan's offense. Niners GM John Lynch joined Colin yesterday on The Herd and was asked about when Trey will be inserted as the starter. Listen to this.
That will be Kyle's decision. He's the coach of this football team, and let it kind of play out. But I think the reassuring thing is that we don't have to rush Trey.
All right, so here's a look at the Niners schedule. They host their division rival Rams in Week 10. LeVar, will Trey Lance start before or after Week 10 for San Francisco?
Originally I wanted to say after because I really listen to what John Lynch says and I really look at what they're planning on doing in my assessment of Trey Lance. I felt like he might not play that much at all this year, but then I started thinking about, Garoppolo generally has not stayed healthy. And to think, the 1 year that he stayed healthy, they went to the Super Bowl. Every other year, even when he filled in for Tom Brady in his suspension year,
he got hurt.
He made 2 out of 4 games. He's so injury prone. It would be, I guess, not wise of me in giving you guys that are betting out there the real insight on this, which is, yes, he will start a game or two based upon the injury situation, the health situation of one Jimmy Garoppolo. So, yeah, he will.
Yeah, I think you do have to look at it not when he is going to start, but what are the odds out of Vegas on when Jimmy's going to get hurt? And that might be a better line to follow to correlate these two. But even with that being said, I could see them using the way that they used Colin when Colin was first there, where there's a package of plays for him. He goes in and changes the tempo of the game. He is so dangerous as a runner. Those quarterback-driven runs and that package that they can produce that's so different than what Jimmy does, to me, is a way to play him and to play him in each game during the early part of the season. Then if he goes in and makes a bunch of exciting plays, I can see that getting transition to him being the full-time starter. Look, even when Jimmy went to the Super Bowl, they did everything they could to not let him pass. And there's no quarterback there's no head coach that wants to sit back and feel like he's got to limit the package for the quarterback. So if he can make those exciting plays, they're going to push him.
I'm gonna give Jimmy Garoppolo the benefit of the doubt on health, even though his history says I shouldn't. So let's just assume Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy. I'm going to say after, because I do think that even if he's healthy, he's going to lose his job because Trey Lance is going to give them the better option. I don't know if we can show the schedule, but I think we can pinpoint a time that would make a lot of sense for them to make the transition. Week 10 is when they play the Rams, and the question is before or after Week 10. I think it'll be right after. I think that going into that week, after that, they'll lose that Week 10 game. I think they'll be a good but not great team, and then they'll say, wait, the Jags, the Vikings, Seahawks are good but not a great defense. The Bengals, the Falcons, Titans, Texans. You don't play a great defense again until Week 18. That's when I would want to get Trey Lance involved. So I would say Week 11 with the belief maybe he can go on a bit of a run against some soft defenses. We can, win some games by running and playing good defense ourselves and feel really good going into the playoffs. So I'm going to say after Wilds, but barely. I think Week 11 against the Jags, and you get Lawrence against Lance, 1 versus 3 from the draft on television.
Yeah, you have 4 quarterbacks in that game. You have Jimmy G and Trey Lance coming in a little bit, and then Trevor Lawrence and Tim Tebow coming in a little bit. It'd be like, holy cow. Set your fantasy football schedules accordingly. Hey, Coach, question for you, because I actually like Nick's answer about Week 11. Do you think, with the way what you're proposing, that you bring him in every once in a while and sort of have him shake it up? Do you think that if he earns the starting job, that it would ever go in reverse, like what we saw with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua, that then he can start the game, but then maybe Jimmy G comes in at the end? Or do you think that was a Flores-specific thing that we'll never see again?
I don't think it's going to go in reverse, because I don't know what Jimmy comes in and brings that's so radically different than what you have, and so it's not as much of a change of pace and something that you'd have to prepare for defensively. When you bring Trey in, it's dramatically different, so you've really got to commit reps to it. And just going back to the schedule, Nick, if they lose, they've got Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona, they could start 2-0 and easily lose the next 3 and go into the bye week, and that could be another place to insert them. But that's a tough 3-game stretch right there after 2 very early games, and then you get the bye week. It's a perfect time to be able to push them in.
Coach,
similar to what Miami did.
Projecting the schedule. I know that's your thing. I like to take it week by week.
If we're gonna do it, I think you look at that stretch in the bye.
It's a good point.
Look at the Patriots. Yeah, we're in Foxborough. Mac Jones has been getting to know that complicated Patriots offense during rookie minicamp. Patriots owner Robert Kraft asked about his 2 quarterback options. Take a listen.
We're excited to have him, but I'm excited to have Cam Newton too.
Oh, Cam Newton.
Who do you want to see starting? Cam? Well, let Bill. I paid Bill a lot of money. Let him decide.
I know that's right.
One of those official interviews where the wind did not get in the way at all. Pats hosting the Titans in Week 12. They don't have their bye until Week 14. But LeVar, will Mac Jones start before or after Week 12 for the Patriots?
Neither. He won't start ever this year. It's not going to happen. If something were to go wrong with Cam, it will be someone else. As it perceivably right now would be Stidham, maybe someone else that would be the next person up. But I do not see Bill Belichick, and just based off of what, historically speaking, how he handles quarterbacks, I don't see him playing at all this year as a starter.
See, I disagree with that. I think he does start. And look, we're in uncharted territory here, because in Bill's 6 years it is as a head coach, he's never drafted a quarterback in the first round. So this is new. But when you hear the owner say, I pay Bill a lot of money to make those decisions, that's another way of saying, hey, you better get it right. And he's got a lot of cachet built up. But you got to say that Robert Kraft was right to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and keep Tom. He probably feels he was right to push Bill to keep Tom last year. And this is one of those things where you better be right. And when you're sitting on a first-round quarterback, if Cam goes in and has the struggles that he had in the passing game, that pressure is going to be real. And to whom much is given, much is expected.
Required.
And that's what Mr. Kraft was saying.
Expected.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go after, I don't know if it's smart, but much like Coach on a football Sunday with loaded nachos, I can't quit Cam Newton. You're going to have to pull him out of my cold, dead hands. I believe in him. Right. Cam, I've always believed in you. Last year was rough for us. The year before wasn't great. The year before that wasn't great either. But that year before that, when you won the MVP and made it to the Super Bowl, was amazing. So I'm going to say after. If they do go to Mac Jones, I think it's after their bye. They have the last bye in the league, and it will be only if things have gone really sideways. So, Wilds, I'm going to say after, because I'm going to continue to stay on Cam Newton Island, even though it's getting more and more deserted by the day.
Oh, no, it's not deserted at all, my friend. I have all of Patriots Nation is there. Don't worry, and we welcome you with open arms. I don't think he's going to start. I think Cam stays healthy, and I think Cam does well with a reloaded offense and a reloaded defense, so he doesn't have to score a ton of points. Coach, question for you. Week 9, going into Carolina, I think that Bill emotionally is going to give Cam that game regardless? Do you see a scenario where like, oh, okay, you know what? Week 9 is the time to start Mac Jones. I think even if he's on schedule, like he wants to make a switch, that he avoids Week 9 and gives Cam that game guaranteed. Do you buy that?
Well, the one thing we know about Bill
that.
Wildes is that he's incredibly emotional, and he'll definitely give Cam a game because he's going to be sensitive to his feelings.
He's such a sentimental guy.
Bill doesn't care about that. And in terms of Pats Nation, Garrett the Javelin was your favorite last year, Wildes. This is going to be one of those things where the pressure's going to be real.
Bill's like,
Cam
what would make you
better
happy,
perform.
Cam?
And if he doesn't, as much as there's hugs and emotion going on in New England, the other kid will be in quick.
We need to do before and after on nachos, loaded nachos. Let's do that.
Oh, they're good.
I'm all in.
Before.
Surprisingly, I'm all in on that, LeVar.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you so much, as always. We're talking the play-in game. Warriors, Lakers, we'll discuss next. First things first. Nachos. On Sunday, NASCAR season continues as the Cup Series makes its long-awaited debut. It's the Circuit of the Americas road course in Austin, Texas. That green flag dropping at 2:30 Eastern, and it's only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, sponsored by Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit. Here we go. Lakers Warriors. LeBron and Steph. Winner gets the 7th seed and a date with the Suns. LeBron said earlier this week, remember, Steph is the MVP this season. Well, Steph was asked yesterday about that high praise from the King. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Obviously, I'm appreciative of, he knows when he says something, people pay attention. So for him to speak on my MVP candidacy is definitely, I respect him for it. I appreciate it. We all know as competitors, though, when the lights are on, I can talk about how great he is till I'm blue in the face, and he can do the same. Doesn't change how we approach, that competition when we're out there. I won't be giving him a pass because he likes the way I played this year, and vice versa.
All right, Nick. Who wins the game tonight?
Listen, I'm very interested to see. Everyone knows who I'm going to say is going to win. The Lakers are going to win. Of course they're going to win. They have the best player in the world, who also is the best player ever. They have the only super quality big in the game. They're going to have a massive size edge. They're going to have a skill edge. They're going to have a defensive edge. They're going to have an offensive edge. So for all those reasons, I'm obviously going to pick the Lakers. On top of that, the Warriors' silver bullet, theoretically, is Steph Curry going off. Unfortunately for Steph, the team he has played the worst against of every team in basketball over the last 3 years is this Lakers team. He's averaging 16 points per game. No other team is holding him under 20. It's the fewest points, the worst field goal percentage, the worst three-point percentage since LeBron has joined the Lakers. And that's 7 games Steph has played against these Lakers. He obviously didn't play any against them last year because he was dealing with the injury all season. So I'm going to pick the Lakers. I am more interested in what Kevin Wildes is going to say, because I am sure Wildes is going to give me reasons the Lakers can lose.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know if he's going to say the Lakers will lose, because we went through this little dance last year with the Blazers where he's like, oh, Blazers, be scared, do it, up, and never actually had the guts, as Pat Riley would put it. Do you have the guts to stay here when it gets hard and pick them? So I want to know, Wildes, who you got?
If you are telling me that Steph Curry is going to score 16.6 points tonight and then average 25% from 3, I will take the over, and I will take the Warriors for the following reason. I think this is a game that the Lakers should be very, very nervous about. And that's why I've introduced America's favorite segment, albeit a little bit scary, Nightmare Fuel for the Lakers. Oh, nightmare fuel. What does that mean, Wildes? Well, here's the reasons. Reason number 1, it's not regular season Warriors. We're already in playoff mode. Steve Kerr challenged them, and the Warriors went 15-5 in the last 20 games. How about the ghost of playoffs past? Oh, the NBA playoffs wilds? No, my friend. I'm talking about the NCAA tournament. Davidson, Steph, look who's back. Averaged 32 points in the tournament. What's he averaging this year? 32 points. You know what the offense was at Davidson? Give Steph the ball and get out of the way, except if you need to be close to him and give him a screen. Big night for Steph tonight. Shoot the ball 40 times, my friend. Reason number 3. Oh, my God. Who's this back from the dead wearing a backpack? Vintage Draymond. He's 1 rebound away from averaging a triple-double. You won't hear the mainstream media tell you that. Also shooting 44% from 3 in the last 3 weeks. Draymond is back. And finally, our friends to the north. We've got 2 of them, Andrew and Aubrey. Andrew had a monster game the other day against the Suns. He tried to shut down Steph. Guess who's back? The number 1 pick. And what about Aubrey? What's he up to? You never quite know. Releasing big hits and drinking with LeBron last night. Now, I'm not saying LeBron's not totally locked in because there is some business interest with Los Lobos Tequila. Is it Los Lobos or El Lobos? Los Lobos saying La Bamba. I don't know. I think it's El Lobos. And regardless, LeVar?
La Bamba was a good song.
I think Warriors win tonight because there's a number of ways they can beat the Lakers. The foremost, that Steph has a monster game.
I'm doubling down on Knicks, and I'm going to take it a step further and say this is a derelict move by LeBron James. It's a bad matchup for the Warriors right now, and they're in the woods. They're not in the house. They're in the woods, and that derelict is set up. You know what derelicts are? It's set up for you to come lick it so you can get popped in hunting. So this is what LeBron is doing. LeBron is hunting Warriors, and he set it up to say that the best player, the MVP, is Steph Curry, and I'm going to get him in this game tonight. It's a nice setup, and I look at the Lakers. He's going to make a statement.
And listen, it's not going to, they're going to ask a ton of Steph. The Lakers are just a terrible matchup because they're so long. Schroeder guards him really well, and they are going to wear him out on the other end, running him through pick and rolls. And while Wilds is right that Draymond is a rebound away this month from averaging a triple-double, over the course of the season, he is averaging a triple-single. He is single digits across the board, points,
Triple
rebounds,
singles.
assists. So he's playing well as of lately. But for the year, it's the old triple single. And I listen, I love him. He's great. He's potential Hall of Famer. Ben Wallace made it. Draymond's going to make it. But the Lakers, if they want to go big and play Drummond and AD, they'll get every rebound. And if they want to play small, they have the best small ball lineup in the world because Anthony Davis can play center, Jenna. So it's just, it's going to take Steph Curry's career best playoff performance. He's going to need 45 plus. I just don't see that happening, Jenna.
See it.
Much more on this game coming up next on Undisputed. Have a great day, everyone.